Okay, hi, I am going to finally do this video, which is my 2021 statistics. Okay, it's gonna be mainly bookish, but I'm gonna throw in like my Spotify Wrapped and my Shopee statistics also. So I'm not sure how I'm gonna do the other two yet, but let's start with the bookish ones. Okay, let's start with Goodreads. My reading year in 2021 was a little less than 2020. Actually, not a little, but a lot. In 2020, I read 150 books, but that was mainly because of the lockdown, circuit breaker, so I had a lot more time. I'm quite happy that I still reached my Goodreads goal, so I guess that's the main part. So let me open my Goodreads 2021 stats. So this is my 2021 Goodreads statistics. I think this one is one book short because it wasn't registered on Goodreads and I was too lazy to upload all the details of this book. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep it as that. Okay, my reading, my 2021, I managed to read 104 books, not like what is here. I read... Yeah, it's raining a lot. It's okay, that's the mic. So anyway, I read 104 books and a total of 38,471 pages. And let me go down. My shortest book is 96 pages and my longest book is Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy, which is 655 pages. My average book length in 2021 was 373 pages. My most popular book was Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, and my least popular book was Red Blood by Caitlin Legaspi. This was the first book an author reached out to me and asked me to do a review for them, and 70 people also shelved this book. So actually both of these weren't the greatest reads. Gone Girl I gave 1.75 stars if I'm not wrong, and Red Blood I gave like 3 stars. If it's wrong, I'll just put it on the screen. Average rating for 2021 was 3.4 stars. So I really need to get a good idea of what I want to read, because this means that what I've been reading hasn't really been giving me enough satisfaction, because I haven't been rating them very highly, which is not a good thing, because even though I read so many books, right, it doesn't mean that I'm enjoying a lot of them. So yeah, it means I need to find out my reading tastes more. Highest rated on Goodreads is Know My Name by Chanel Miller. I didn't rate this book because I don't know how to rate non-fiction. 4.71 average rating is very high out of 5. My first review of the year was The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. I did a blog post about it also. Yeah, it was also an okay read only. Oh gosh. Okay, so these are all my 2021 books. I'm just gonna slowly scroll down for you to see. I actually reread quite a lot of books this year. Not as many as other people I would believe, but it's a lot for me. But that would explain where all the 5 stars come from. Yeah. Show more books. Let's do that. These were the last few books that I read. And my last review of the year was The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman, and a very short review over here. So yeah, a lot of the things here are not positive, which is not a good thing, because to like read books that I actually enjoy, right? Okay, so now I'm going to go to CAWPILE. This CAWPILE thing was created by G from Book Rose. I'll put a link down to her video explaining everything in the description box below. But yeah, this is the most accurate tracker for my reading, because I just track everything, and it's like the most accurate reflection of my reading, but might not be the most accurate reflection of the books themselves, because I'm still figuring out like how to find out about the author's nationality, the author's pronouns, whether this was own voices or not, so on and so forth. So yeah, it might be a little bit inaccurate, but I did try to make it as accurate as possible. So yeah, let me quickly go to this page. Yes, okay, so let's start with the books read per month, total including any DNFs. So that means all the books that are DNF'd are included in this chart as well. So I kind of went a little bit insane in starting from November to December. Okay, so in January I read 6 books, February 9, March 10, April 10, May 10, June 10. That was a very nice line. July 7, August 4, because that was when I started my semester and things were just crazy. And September 6, October 10, November 15, and December 2022, December 22. That's like 8 points, around 8 to 9 books a month as the average. Total books read this year including DNFs was 119, but without DNFs is 104 like I said. And the books DNF'd per month is 1 book in March, 2 books in April, 2 in May, 1 in July, August and September, 3 in November and 4 in December. So yeah, that will lessen the books that I read per month a bit. And I think that's a very good thing for me actually, to DNF more books, because I used to not like the idea of DNFing books, and I would think that what if something happens later on in the book that will change everything and make everything much more enjoyable. But I have read so many like 3-star books, 2-star books from trying not to DNF. So I worked out that it's more worth it for me to DNF books from the start, like if I don't feel like I'm going to enjoy it. Pages read per month, I have no idea why my chart looks like this now. There's like only numbers for October, but if I hover over it, the most number of pages read would be in December, 6,775 pages. Then November, 5,188 pages, and October, 3,834 pages. And it's like on a incline. The total pages that I have read this year is 40,093 pages. This would be the most accurate because this one I counted the pages of the book that I read before I DNF'd it also, because that I technically read that also. Yeah. Then the language I read in is mainly English, 98.3%, 117 books. And 0.8% is in Chinese. 1 book that is English/Chinese. My Giant Geek Boyfriend. Okay, it's the shortest book that I read. Okay, for Chinese, I also only read 1 book, which is the 1 book that it was not listed on Goodreads. My reading methods. Okay, so I didn't really know how to log this because like for audiobooks, right, I like to read them with the ebook or the physical book. And sometimes when I feel like I mainly read the book via audiobook, I'll just list it as audiobook. 3.4% was audiobook, 15.1% was physical book, 45.4% was mixed media, and 36.1% was ebook, which is very surprising because I believe last year I didn't know anything about audiobooks. I didn't even touch them. But for it to now have been the main method in which I read my books, which is mixed media, which means I mix audiobook and ebook or physical book together, it's quite amazing. The second main method that I used to read is ebook, which is not surprising to me. That would have been my main reading method if I hadn't discovered audiobooks. Yeah. Okay, my main reasons for DNFing: general apathy is the 40%. The main reason is low intrigue, 46.7%. 6.7% everything is sucky, and 6.7% annoying characters. Okay, genre, my main genre is still fantasy, 27.7%, followed by romance, 20.2%, followed by, I think this for romance, right, is because I read a lot of books from the romance category in my previous video, which I'll link up above. But yeah, and then contemporary is 19.3%. These are the 3 main genres that I read. Next is mystery, 9.2%, 3.4% paranormal, non-fiction, 4.2%, which is quite good. I don't really read non-fiction, but 4.2%, that's good. 5% historical fiction, 2.5% science fiction, 2.5% thriller, and 0.8% magical realism. Yes, so I read across 16 different genres, which is very interesting. The length of books read, my main one is 350 to 400 pages, 21.8%. Then 400 to 450 pages, 20.2%. 300 to 350 pages, 17.6%. Then 450 250 to 500 pages, 10.9%, 250 to 300 pages, 9.2%. I read the same number of books for 500 to 550% and 200 to 250%. Star ratings, as I mentioned before, I didn't have much of a good reading year. 39.8% was 3 stars, 37.8% was 4 stars, 12.2% was 2 stars, 9.2% was 5 stars, and 1% 1 star. The 5 star 9.2%, as I mentioned, has a lot of reread. Age category. Surprisingly, 45.4% adult is the main. Like, it won over young adult by a bit, which is very, very surprising because last year I read mainly young adult, I believe. Yeah, so 44.5% young adult, 4.2% middle grade. Publication year of that video again, mainly my books were read in 2021, so 25.2%. 2020, 21.8%. Then 2019, 10.9%. LGBTQ plus rep. Absent 62.1%, which I know is bad. Present 17.5% and main character 20.4%. So I need to do work on that next year. This year, how I got the book: 83.2% were borrowed, 16% were owned, and 0.8% were gifted. So I am actually proud of this 16% because I used to not read a lot of the books on my shelves because nothing much that interested me. But I've started to unhaul and read and haul other books. I'm quite proud of the collection I currently have. Like, it can grow to become a better collection that reflects what I like. The breakdown of the LGBTQ plus rep: 36.4% bi, 21.2% various, and 24.2% gay. For rereads, I only reread 5%, so 95% were first time reads. But that 5% is more than what I would normally do because I don't normally reread books. Series or standalone: 43.7% series and 56.3% standalone. For a long time, right, this table was like 50-50 because what I like to do is I like to read a standalone, then a series book, then a standalone, then a series book. But because, again, of that video, a lot more standalones were read. So I finished 12 series this year, which is quite a lot in my opinion. Yeah, which I'm quite proud of about. For authors, POC authors were 35.1% yes, 64.9% no. Again, more can be done on this. The breakdown is here. 65.8% Asian, which is very good to support Asians authors. Written by mainly women, 73.7%. Own voices, again, I said I'm very bad at this, so I need to work on it. 83.5%, like, not applicable. Nationality, 60.9% American, 11.3% British, Japanese 3.5%, and Korean 2.6%, Korean American 1.7%. Okay, so that's the end of my CAWPILE spreadsheet. I have started another one for this year already. I'm looking forward to see how different it is next year. Why do I keep saying next year? This year. Let's go to my reading survey. So I just want to quickly talk about the books in my reading survey. So how many books did I read? Goodreads goal was 82 books. I reached my Goodreads goal. And how many books did I read? As I mentioned, 104. Most read genre, I already mentioned, fantasy. The longest and shortest books I read, I showed you in the Goodreads statistics. Favorite book published in 2021 is The Love Hypothesis. If you want to watch me gushing about it, I'll link it up above. I read that for the Goodreads video also, which I've already linked. My favorite debut book in 2021 was Crying in H-Mart. I also talked about it in that Goodreads video. So, favorite book not published this year, I'm going to say Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. This was a 5-star read because, oh my gosh, I love it. It talks about books, and I love books about books. Okay, it's like fantasy also. It's a standalone. It's a standalone. Read it. I don't think it's high fantasy, and it's quite okay to understand. And it's about how Elizabeth, who has been raised in one of Ostermere's great libraries and grown up among magical grimoires that rattle beneath iron chains, an act of sabotage releases the library's most dangerous grimoire. She is accused of treason and she is sent to face justice in the capital. And she has no one else to turn to other than the sorcerer that she ends up with, also known, ends up to travel the journey with, called Nathaniel Thorne. and his mysterious demonic servant, and she finds herself entangled in a centuries-old conspiracy. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. A really great characters that I love, especially the character, the demonic servant. I'm not sure if there's a spoiler, so I don't want to name the person. Oh my gosh, it's so good. This was my first Margaret Rogerson, and I gave it 5 stars. So I also bought Enchantment of Ravens, hoping that it will be as good as this. A book that lived up to the hype. Love Hypothesis again. A book that did not live up to the hype. We have so many. I have so many answers. Spanish Love Deception, Ace of Spades, Rule of Wolves, Spanish Love Deception. I talked about it in that Goodreads video again. Ace of Spades, because a lot of people were raving about it, but to me it felt like a thriller that ended up, the twist was not satisfying. It was giving me creepy vibes, like from the start to the middle, and then the end was just like not creepy anymore, which is not what I want from a thriller, a mystery thriller. Rule of Wolves. So I bought King of Scars physically and I read it. It was very long, but I gave it like 4 stars because overall it was like okay lah. But when I read Rule of Wolves, oh my gosh, it was even longer than King of Scars, and that is saying something, okay? And I hate long chapters, and the book was full of long chapters, which doesn't give me a lot of motivation to want to continue reading. And the plot wasn't very like, it was like okay lor. And the ending kind of left me unsatisfied because we went through these 2 very ginormous books, and to me it's like I want an ending, but the ending just didn't give me a good satisfaction. I don't know, it's like it's setting up for another book, like not in this series but another book in a different trilogy in the Grishaverse. So it's like I don't want to be set up like this, okay? And there were like so many like points of view. If I'm looking here, it's because I'm looking at my own review because I don't really remember much from it. There are so many points of view, right, that it's like I cannot really have time to understand each character and have them fleshed out for me, which I do not enjoy. I gave it 3.25 stars. It just felt like she just wrote everything that she wanted to write in this book and called it a day, you know? And it's quite sad because I like her Six of Crows trilogy a lot. Book that felt like the biggest accomplishment is also Rule of Wolves because it's so long. I read the ebook and my ebook was like 800 plus pages and I finished it, okay? So it's like a big round of applause for me. Thank you very much. Favorite character is again the demonic servant in Sorcery of Thorns. My least favorite character is Catherine in Heartless. This book right here. Oh my gosh, this beautiful book. So I actually wanted to do like a reading vlog for the Isabella Stone of Pages month-long readathon because I read this book and Scythe, but I ended up scrapping it. Let me talk about this book now, okay? So this book is about Catherine, and this is an Alice in Wonderland retelling if you couldn't already tell. She loves baking, but she ends up getting like proposed to by the king, and she doesn't want to be a queen because a queen cannot like open her own bakery, a queen cannot sell tarts and bake for a living. So she's just very whiny about this whole situation. The meeting that she has with the hot Joker, they end up like having love at first sight, and it's like insta love. I think I don't really like insta love in this book. This is like a villain origin story, and again it's sad because this is by Marissa Meyer, who is an auto-read author for me. She wrote like Instant Karma, which was 5 stars. She wrote the Lunar Chronicles, which has all the books listed here. So it's like I enjoyed those 2, but when it comes to Heartless, I was just like, what a big disappointment. And for such a beautiful book also, have you seen this? Have you seen the inside? Oh my gosh, look at this beautiful book, okay? Yeah, so that left me very salty, but I'm going to unhaul this book. Or maybe I just don't like villain origin stories, I don't know. But one good thing that came out of this, right, was I love Jest, who is the court Joker, and I love the Cheshire Cat in this. Like, Jest deserves so much better, okay? And I also love like how, the same as what I mentioned for Boy Called Christmas, right? Link it up above again. I like when it's like a retelling and the different parts of this story I can identify, like, oh, this makes up Alice in Wonderland, oh, this came from Alice in Wonderland, you know. I like identifying that. And I also like how the whimsical parts in this book was depicted as normal, because like whimsical is normal in Wonderland, everything impossible is possible, and strange is normal in Wonderland, which I really like. I just didn't like Catherine. Yeah, and Catherine is the main character, so That's sad. And I don't really like that romance also. My most shocking book / moment, Scythe by Neil Schusterman. This was also for that readathon, and you can see my little tabs here. I love this book, but not to the point that I'll give it 5 stars, because it was like kind of iffy a bit. Anyway, so let me tell you about Scythe. It's also fantasy, dystopia kind of. It's about these characters known as Citra and Rowan. In this world, we have scythes. So because humanity has progressed past the point of natural death, because population numbers are still increasing, right? People still need to die. So scythes were formed, like this whole scythe thing was formed so that they have this honor, this responsibility to glean people and take their lives. This honorable thing, right? It has to be like, for example, every scythe has different ways and methods they choose to glean, so they can choose who they want to glean and so on and so forth, as long as their reasons are like reasonable. For example, they have like conclaves, which like where the scythes gather every few months, right, to discuss about any issues that they have internally. And maybe like this scythe only gleans like Asians, then it's like problematic, so they have to like give up punishments for it. So we follow Citra and Rowan because they become apprentices under one scythe, which is not normal, and it hasn't happened before. If you don't want to know anything about this book, you can skip forward, okay, because it might be considered a spoiler, but it's in the synopsis. So basically they are told that one of them will have to glean the other. So that's the part where it's kind of like, oh no, so what is going to happen, you know, at the end. This book has like unexpected twists, because I didn't know anything about this book, like other than the general plot, and when I went in I was like very shocked, and it was a very pleasant surprise. So I immediately ordered the other 2 books in the series. You can see Thunderhead here, and The Toll is like somewhere there. So this was the book with the most plot twists. Also, Rock Paper Scissors, a thriller that was actually thrilling for me. I think some people like guessed it quite early on, but not for me. And also A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I'll link the video up also. Yeah, so this one is another mystery thriller. It's about Pip, who is Pippa. She grew up in this small town, and there was this case that happened about 5 years ago. This schoolgirl called Andy Bell was murdered by Sao Singh, and the police and everybody know that he did it, but Pip doesn't believe that he was the person. So she, under the guise of this school project, she starts investigating again. And there are so many plot twists in this book, and it's a very good book, which I gave 5 stars for. Again, these are all my tabs. And if you want to experience my reading journey while reading this book, you can go watch that video. My favorite couple in OTP, Adam and Olive from Love Hypothesis. Yes, it's a bit repetitive, I'm sorry. The best written book that I've read this year is going to be Good Girl's Guide to Murder again, Sorcery of Thorns, and a book that I have constantly talked about in this channel, The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. So I finally have a copy of this because I went book thrifting. I'll link the video up above. I'm just linking all my videos. I think I've talked enough about this book already if you watch my videos. So I'm just going to like tell you that these are the books that I think were the best written for me. The book that I pushed the most people to read in 2021. I feel like I can't really answer this because I have barely started my booktube channel, barely started my bookstagram. The only books that I recommended were the book to my one friend who reads and I recommend her The Love Hypothesis and Midnight Library a lot. That would be my answers if I want to answer it. Favorite book cover of the year would be Crying in H-Mart, Heartless, the beautiful book that disappointed me, ta-da, and Pachinko, which was also kind of a disappointment because this was overhyped for me. So I gave this 3 stars. The more I think about it, the more underwhelmed I feel by it, because we just follow this whole generation of this family, and characters die, characters grow up, then start their own families, and it's like this whole history about Pachinko. I think I have a video about this also. Favorite book adaptation, Shadow and Bone, the Netflix adaptation. It was so good, but also I didn't really watch a lot of book adaptations. What book made me cry the most? A book made me tear up, and it was from my mid-year book freakout tag, so I'm not gonna like say a lot about it, but I'll link it up above for you. It was basically Forgive Me, Leonard Peacock, and I talked a lot more about it, about why I teared up, and there's like a lot of trigger warnings for that book also, but it's a very good read at the start, just that towards the end it became kind of disappointing. But but it still made me tear up, which I totally forgot about. So I don't know what that says about that book, but yeah, that question kind of like re-answered because I didn't remember. What book made me laugh the most? Six of Crows. Oh my gosh, let me show you the book because it has been a while. Look at this, all the tabs here above, but oh my gosh, so I did a legend. You see my legend? It's over here. So I wrote over here that funny is yellow, and if you can see the number of yellow tabs, it's a lot. A new favorite author that I discovered this year is Neil Schusterman, who wrote Scythe, Margaret Rogerson, who wrote Sorcery of Thorns, and Matt Haig, who wrote The Midnight Library. Favorite book that I have reread this year, Six of Crows, fantastic reread. Oh my gosh, I still love it a lot. And Toto-chan, my favorite non-fiction book still. Hello and welcome to the final part of this video. I have changed because I took a break. I took screenshots. I don't really know what the order is supposed to be. Let's go with Spotify Wrapped first. My top artist was 17. I was in the top 3% of their listeners this year. My top genres: K-pop, C-pop, Korean OST, Korean R&B, Korean pop. So majority Korean. Is this why I'm studying Korean language? I listened to 16 different genres this year. Oh my gosh, wait, it's the same. I read across 16 different book genres. Coincidence? I don't know. My top artists: 17, SHINee, IU, Akmu, Chungha. Fully Korean. I spent a total of 1,505 minutes with 17, and I couldn't get enough of Hitori Janai, which is 17's one of their Japanese singles this year. And I spent 17,084 minutes listening on Spotify, I believe, more than 69% of other listeners in Singapore. My top songs: Hitori Janai, My Sea, 曾经我也想过一了百了, Kind, and Our Dawn is Hotter Than Day. My aura, okay, my top music moods are dramatic and healing. That is all for Spotify Wrapped. Let's move on to Shopee. I discovered 161 local businesses, I believe, on Shopee. Using vouchers and coins, I saved $244. I spent $141 on local businesses. I am in the top 10% of Shopee users. So I used 31 vouchers. I collected 3,562 coins. That's the end of the video. If you're still here, leave me a cookie emoji because there's a bag of cookies next to me. If you enjoyed looking at all my stats, I know that I want to look back at this video this time next year just to see like a comparison, which is why I wanted to include all the statistics here. Have a good day, have a great week.